spent a lot of time alone as a child. My friend Lori, a therapist, tells me it's probably because when I was alone, I didn't feel the pressure to rescue people. She's probably right, because when I was alone, I drew pictures of me rescuing people. When I wasn't drawing, I was reading books about history and stories about people who needed rescuing. I've spent the past decade learning what it means to serve people and lead them to the Messiah, rather than trying to be one. Now when I read history, I glance backward through a different lens. I'm drawn to men and women who seem to achieve a confidence in their roles as co-conspirators in the mission of God. Men and women content to allow the Father to govern, His Son to save, and His Spirit to guide. These unusual people were formed into conduits of God's love, and over the course of time, His followers have labeled them poets and saints. Poets and saints have inspired us with their books, their poems, their songs, the way they loved, and the way they lived. They must not be forgotten. Their words have stood the test of time and are as important for us today as they were for their contemporaries. Found in their insights are nuggets of truth that through the years have been forged into bonds of iron among the people of God. When we debate with dignity and agree with love, we hold together those sacred convictions that set us apart and cut a path for the return of the King. Though Christian community has called some men and women saints, it's not because they were perfect. It's because we remember them for the way they lived out their faith. They were not without their issues. They were as messed up as you and I. And this gives me hope. If God can use the brokenness and suffering of these Christian icons, He can do the same for me. I pastor a church filled with wanderers and misfits, artists and adventurers. We're a motley crew who have signed up for apprenticeship in the Jesus way. We vacillate in our hopes and fears, but press on, trusting in the ability of our Master. Our inspiration comes from the past. Our hope lies in the future. Our perspiration is in the present. We have little idea what's next, but we are willing servants stepping out in faith. I get to do this as a pastor, as a husband, and as a father. And recognizing that trials and tests produce perseverance, I concocted a rite of passage experience for my children. After having some success hiking along the Appalachian Trail during a heat wave with my twin sons when they were 16, I decided it was time to craft a challenging adventure for my 16-year-old daughter, Ashton. For a child who longs to travel, loves to organize, and dislikes unplanned interruptions, a trip across the pond seemed like just the thing. I announced to Ashton, "I'm taking you to Europe." She hugged me and began planning. Soon after, while I was discussing our church history series with our church's creative arts team, wonderful ideas began intersecting. Within a few weeks, our worship band, all sons and daughters, including leaders Leslie Jordan and David Leonard and manager Chris DeTrey, and my literary agent Esther Fedorkevich, collaborated and then proposed an idea to our publisher. What if Leslie, David, and I filmed a 2-week documentary-style study for churches that taught church history in an engaging way, featuring icons of the faith from Europe? And what if the band wrote songs from their experiences, retracing the steps of these European poets and saints? And what if I recorded our experiences in a book that combined snapshots of biographical information fused with teaching on spiritual formation? The publisher said it sounded crazy, and then said yes. So David, Leslie, and I went about gathering the team. David and his wife Natalie, Leslie and her husband Thomas, Chris and his wife Bria, Sarah McIntosh, recording artist and researcher, Kara Fox, cellist, Zach Pritchard, film director, Matt Underwood, cameraman, Jordan and Tyler George, artists and crew, who joined us halfway through the trip, and Ashton and me. Feeling energized as the plan unfolded, I introduced it to Ashton. "We have a new opportunity. I'm still taking you to Europe for your rite of passage experience, but how would you feel about also functioning as my assistant on a project with my publisher? This way we can save a little money and visit a few more sites than we would have otherwise been able to do. You'll ride on a sleeper bus with 11 other people, and you'll be able to see Paris." "What's the trade-off?" she asked, processing what might be lost in the new arrangement. "Less time with your dad,"